Okay, this I actually do know about because of an error I made. I went to start reading the Eddas and the sagas because I wanted to learn about Viking culture. But being an academic, I went and first found, I think I read the introduction written by a professor on it. And those were written way after the Viking era. Not fantasizing, but sort of nostalgically imagining what they thought the Viking era was. So you can't actually use those sources. It would be like a version that I could explain better is British and American people think of Charles Dickens and A Christmas Carol. We think of Dickens as the Victorian era was so sweet and everybody had a heart back then. When it's no, Dickens himself was fantasizing that the world was that way. He himself was imagining a simpler time that sort of never really existed ever. And that's what the Eddas and the sagas are doing, particularly Snorre. Those are, again, this is not my field, and I try to be very clear about what I'm an actual expert in. But I did stumble upon this because I felt very embarrassed that I thought all this time that the sagas and the Eddas were written by Vikings. Because you'd be surprised, in literary studies, you only study your little time period. So it's not about all literature, but sometimes I kind of feel like I should. So I didn't, and I was embarrassed, and so I did some reading, and no, I want to say that these were written in 1200 or something, about the 900s and 800s. So, you got to think, how much would you or I in 2000 really know about the 1700s? Maybe with some research we'd have an idea, but we still don't really know. And even that's different because we have more written records from the 1700s. So no, those are not actually, you can't assume that the cultural homogeny that is portrayed, if it's portrayed in the sagas and Eddas, you can't assume that that's realistic. That is much more likely to be a fantasy from a later medieval period.